Well, I think you know how much I love Miss Karen, but I do want to ask because I think as a married guy, this would be an interesting conversation to have. When did you realize, and how do you present in a way where you don't get any heat, honey? You play a fantastic crazy bitch character because I could see how to any other woman who didn't really understand the business, though, what do you mean? But in this case, we know that she's phenomenal at it. And I know that's not the real life Karen, but how do you pitch that to someone who's not necessarily in the business? Did she get it right away, or when did it click for you? Like, oh, there's money in this.
I can't remember the exact timeline, but it was, gosh, before we got married. And I said in Orlando, I said, "Did you just say what I think you said? You used to watch the NWA with your grandfather?" She said, "Yeah." And there was a time her father was really, really sick during her high school years and even junior high and high school years and all this. And Greensburg was just right outside of Pittsburgh. That's where they live. But there was a almost a 2 year period where she went and lived with her grandparents down in West Virginia. Went to school down there. Tough time for the entire family and all this. But that is where I guess her first really impressions of, like so many people, and a lot of people don't really understand that about Karen, is that she's just like she was a fan first, and she said in Orlando, right by catering, that her favorite of all time, and I tried to do the timeline on all this, was Sherry Martell. That she just thought Sherry was incredible, and so it's the WCW era.
Yeah.
I, I'm guessing all that, but also she knew about Miss Elizabeth and all that, and so that I think came later. Her, of her fandom of just observing, but it was never really hard that was her favorite, Scary Sherry or Sherry Martell. And then when she got the opportunity, she had it in her mind that, okay, how do I kind of, so I think at times, and she doesn't like being babyface, but if she's a babyface, I think she tries to kind of channel her inner Miss Elizabeth, if you will, which she hates. Probably hate me saying this, but as a heel, it is Sherry. And I think Sherry was a good talker, but I think Karen's verbal skills, especially when you give her time to think through it, she is a hateable bitch. And so when like on the 619 spot, all this kind of stuff, those kind of conversations, especially in like Conan would chuckle about this because he's like, "Hey man, I want to run this by you first before I run it by Karen." I'm like, "You don't need to do that. You need to go with Karen. She's going to tell you what she will and won't do." And they're like, "She never says no to nothing on any of this. So I want to make sure you're cool with it." We did that deal where the baby faces put a big black cape on her and a hat and called her a witch and threw her a broom as she was threw a broom as she's getting up, and she's standing there with the visual of a hat, a big black tarp on, and a broom. I mean, the people brouhaha immediately. So she is a natural heel, if you will.
She's fantastic at it. And I got to tell you, I never even thought about the Sherry Martell comparison, but that's exactly it. You can tell she's, with the benefit of hindsight, she's definitely drawing influence from that. But I want
And
to give a compliment to Karen, but it's going to sound like it's not. Her facials are way better. Her facials are way better than Sherry. She's way better at it because, and don't get me wrong, wrestling changes and what the needs are and the expectation is different. But when Sherry Martell was doing the crazy over the top stuff, it felt performative. It felt like a character she was playing. But when Karen can like make the facial, she becomes like you, where even I know y'all and count you as friends. And even I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, what if I do? I don't even know what to do. I feel like Ricky Bobby, like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, I'm totally out of it. She's really good at it.
I don't know if I've told the story about my old man Jarrett at Ric Flair last match about he had never, he had never been at ringside and a long time since for me, but he saw Karen and he did ask. He's like, "Now, what really happened?" And I just chuckled and I said,
Bubba too. Bubba and your dad were both like hook, line, and sinker, thinking that Megan and Karen had real heat. And I just thought it was fantastic.
"Rick and Jeff, they're working their ass off, and that's fun."
Yes. But these ladies,
that's real.
yes,
But
I love
isn't
that.
that the fun part of the business?
Because we all want to. We're talking about promoters. We're talking about Hall of Famers, and we all want to believe. We all want to suspend our disbelief. And Karen does not get enough credit for being. And listen, it feels like I'm being ugly to her, and I'm not trying to. But her smirks and resting bitch face, or whatever you want to call it, RBF, like, man, she's got it in such a way. Now we know she can just immediately turn it into a smile. It's a performance, but it's like, God, you just get sucked in. And you're like, ooh, I don't know about this.
Yeah, that's good.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Tyler Mitchell says, when are we getting a chosen one WCW era Double J figure? Yes, I was a fan then, and that particular era doesn't have much representation when it comes to figures. Hey, that could happen. It doesn't have to happen with WWE. Do you think Jazz Wares or Big Rubber Guys or somebody like that will make one of that era?
I always defer to our guys, Mr. Matt Cardona and his crew, and Ryan Myers. They're the ones. And look, there are a couple of boutique guys that have done figures, and I go kind of defer to them. They came out with the Indian Aztec and obviously the Double J multiple colors and all this. I just think it's a matter of time that, I'll call it just the Slapnuts era. And that is, do I have one around? There's just that kind of era, the Slapnuts, chosen one, as you call them, Bob Vila glasses. I'm surprised one hasn't been done.
Well, hopefully they're listening. They'll get on it. Justin Porter wants to know, and boy, we're going to get them stirred up on this one. In your opinion, who would you consider as the most underrated tag team of all time in any era?
Oh, gosh.
So we're not saying the best tag team. We're not saying the Mount Rushmore of tag teams. We're not even saying the most underrated young and up and coming tag team right now. We're saying all time and space, the most underrated tag team of all time, Jeff. And if you can't narrow it down to one, rattle us off a few.
Jesus. I wish, Justin, I think I heard the name. If I get it wrong.
Yep.
Great question. Really good. I wish you would have given me some options to choose from, because in my brain, I'm, 40 years into the business, and I'll go back maybe 10 or 15 years before that. But underrated tag team, oh, Jesus.
Let's make it easier. Who comes to mind in a WWF perspective?
Well, look, we could go down on so many of them that, like, and I'll always kind of go back. Like, at the end of the day, if you, I would say this: the Moondogs, they drew money at wherever they went, but you would never classify them as classic tag teams. I know that's 70s and 80s kind of stuff, but then you kind of get into, oh boy, modern, or even 10 or 15 years ago, a tag team that like Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard, the Heavenly Bodies. The industry wasn't a tag team savvy business at all. And they were fantastic. Really knew how to work a tag match. And that's where, when I say underrated, I think my descriptor would be teams that really know how to work a tag, as opposed to two singles being thrown together. That's what I've always said. There's just such a huge difference in guys knowing how to work a tag match. Shawn Michaels, you get in a room with him, and I hopefully I took that, because there's just a different mindset of a tag match can be two single matches, and it's terrible. Put together out there with four guys, or you can really have a tag match where stuff you do at the beginning of the match ties together to the middle, ties together to the heat, to the finish, false finishes, to the finish, and even the afterbirth. There's really an art to it. So underrated tag team. Look, good God, I'm just not good at this. I'd have to see a list. Do the Steiners get really enough?
Oh, they won it so many times. I don't know. In my head, I'm not saying this is it.
You're going to be better at this.
Like the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, Steve Armstrong and Tracy Smothers. I think that's a good team that never probably got its just due.
Okay.
And I could even say, you know, the Fantastics, Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton. I mean, I know they had career, you know, success on the indies, but as far as a national television audience, and even like, I know it was on TV for a minute here, but over in Japan, and certainly a little while in WCW, like Dr. Death and Terry Gordy, that could have worked. I think if that would have been longer. But if we think about guys who were like on the big show, but just didn't get a long enough run, maybe Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin.
Oh, that's not. There you go.
If they had some time, and at the same time, like, and again, they didn't have a bunch of success there, but imagine in a more modern era, if you had a Paul London and a Brian Kendrick back together.
Let me ask you something, because one of the teams that I like if I'm YouTubing it or whatever it may be, and just because of the nature of the Four Horsemen, and you had the Andersons and this and
Yes.
that, but Arn and Tully, and I know they had their run.
Well, if you set them aside, they're easily it, right?
Yeah, I just think they go because Tully had a single career, Arn with other Andersons and all that. But when they were together, and I know they had the WWE run, that they were so freaking good. Just really, those matches they had with the Rockers is criminally or it's just not mentioned. They were freaking that is when you really drill it down and you go, okay, Tully, Arn, Shawn, Marty. It's really hard to top that because those four guys knew how to work a tag.
Can I throw one last name of a tag team at you that I know some people are going to say they're not underrated, but I would argue that because they never really had the machine behind them, they had a ton of success in Ring of Honor, but the Briscoes have to be number one for me, because if they would have been in the WWE or they would have been in AEW, or if we had a time machine and they were in ECW or they were in WCW, like if they were given the big stage, the big platform and the big opportunity, I got to think the Briscoes are there.
I've told you the Dutch Mantel because Dutch pitched them a couple of different times, but kind of at the wrong time. Dutch, they're still under ROH. Can we just get them in here for this? Dutch was a huge fan, and his elevator pitch, if you will, was, hey, Jeff, I know they may not look like the bookend tag team. They may not talk like the tag team. Hell, you may not even think the work, but they've got one thing that you cannot duplicate is that they got he would say these words, Jeff, they got a shitload of charisma.
They do.
And you can't manufacture that. He absolutely, and when I look and go, because I saw him at that NWA show, they're the number ones, Conrad. That and Tully and Arn too. Those are the two most underrated tag teams, I think. Good call.
All right, real quick, I want to remind everybody, especially this time of year, did you know at SaveWithConrad.com you can skip your next two house payments? That's right. You'll get a cheaper monthly payment and no payments until next year. How about a little Christmas vacation from house payments? That's right. No payments in November or December at SaveWithConrad.com.